find myself consistently being reminded of everything I lack. When I turn on the TV, there's a commercial of the cool car I lack. Or I pick up my phone and I'm reminded of how I lack a life full of exotic vacations like my friends on Instagram. Or I find myself comparing myself to the people around me. You know, like I wish I had talent like she does, or I wish I had the influence that he does. You know, it's really easy for us to be caught up and dwell on the things that we believe we are lacking. Psalm 23 says this: "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He lets me rest in grassy meadows. He leads me to restful waters. He keeps me alive. He guides me in proper paths for the sake of his good name." The psalmist draws on this imagery of a shepherd. The job of a shepherd is to lead the sheep to food resources. Now, what makes this psalm interesting is that the shepherd has done his job, but the sheep are resting and not eating. That is not usually what sheep do. They usually consume everything in sight and then they move on. We get this imagery of sheep that have everything, yet they are content just to rest in the midst of it. The psalmist is proclaiming that when we are with God, we lack nothing. Don't we usually focus on what we lack when we are facing hard circumstances? We might be tempted to believe, if I only had this resource, or if I had this kind of influence, I would not be in this hard situation. Now, the people James is writing to are people who have been forced to leave their homes and have this temptation. And so James writes this: "My brothers and sisters, think of the various tests you encounter as occasions for joy." Joy? When I am facing hardships, joy is not my initial response. But he goes on: "After all, you know that testing of your faith produces endurance. Let this endurance complete its work so that you may be fully mature, complete, and lacking in nothing." You see, endurance is about consistency. When you are training for a marathon, you are training so that you have a level of consistency from the start to the end. James is calling his readers to consistency of faith. What does it look like to have faith in who Jesus is in the good times and the bad? When we trust Jesus in all circumstances, we lack nothing. To trust Jesus means to trust the way of Jesus. Often the way of Jesus invites us to go without what everyone around us says is vitally important to our success and well-being. The kingdom Jesus invites us into has a whole other set of values. And when we live in the reality of the way Jesus' kingdom works, we lack nothing and we find ourselves full of joy and rest.